everyone, we're going to state the domain of each composite function. And I think the first thing I want to do is just look at, we're going to do all four of these compositions. Here's our two functions. The domain of f is just all real numbers here, any real number. And for g, this quantity has to be greater than or equal to 0. So in this case, it's all real numbers, but x has to be greater than or equal to 1. Now, let's start with this first one. This is a, and we're going to do f of g. So we've got f of g of x, which equals f, and you plug in your g. So that's going to be square root of x minus 1, which equals the square root of x minus 1 squared plus 1, which equals x minus 1 plus 1, which equals x. Okay, and on this one, since my inner function was g, and g is this, we always have to look at this. So the domain, even though we're left with that, our domain still has to be this. So x has to be greater than or equal to 1. Okay. You always have to base, always the inner function is the main one. Okay? Because when you're solving this, you can't be plugging in numbers here. Sorry. That doesn't satisfy the equation before you simplify. Okay. Let's go to the next one, which we're going to do g of f. This equals g f of x. We're rewriting it. So our inner function is all real numbers. And then you put your g in, so the g, everywhere there's an x, you're going to put x squared plus 1 minus 1, which equals the square root of x squared. Anytime you have something like this, it's going to be the absolute value of x, because you can't have negatives. You can't have, when we're dealing with all real numbers, we have to have the positive x. So basically, since my inner function was all real numbers, and this can be all real numbers, our domain is all real numbers. Okay, let's do f of f. Now remember, our inner function is all real numbers. So basically, we have f of x squared plus 1. And then we're going to input it again. So I'm going to input this. Well, I don't have to do that. I'm just going to write x squared plus 1 squared plus 1, which is x squared plus 1. Plus 2x squared. Whoops. I'm not doing this very well. So x to the 4th plus 2x squared plus 1, and then we have this plus 1. So you get x squared, or x to the 4th, plus 2x squared plus 2. Okay, so this is all real numbers. Our inner function is all real numbers, so the domain is all real numbers. And the last one we have is g of g. So this is basically g of x. And so we're going to have g of square root of x minus 1. Remember, on our inner function here, that the domain is x is greater than or equal to 1. So basically, when we substitute this again, we're going to get x, square root of x, and square root of x minus 1, minus 1. Now we're going to take this inner part here. This has to be greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to So we're going to do now square root of x minus 1 is to be greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to add the 1 to both sides. And then square both sides, you get x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 1 squared, which is just 1. So you're going to have x is greater than or equal to 2. Therefore, our domain does include that, because here we have x is all real numbers. However, x must be greater than or equal to 2. Okay? Thank you. Have a nice day. We're going to do some more. Bye-bye.